Hi, I'm Patty.
I'm Kim Michelle.
And I'm Jill. Welcome to our podcast. It's a great day to talk.
Because honestly, what day isn't a great day to talk?
So join us in our conversation.
A Great Day to Talk is brought to you by St. George Design, offering complete website design, social media management, search engine optimization, Google and Facebook ad management, and many other digital and print marketing services. stgeorgedesign.com. And by Richardson Brothers Custom Homes, third-generation builders who have been building custom homes in southern Utah for over 25 years. They will take your dream home from concept to completion. Contact richardsonbrothers.com.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to A Great Day to Talk. I'm Kim Michelle, and I'm here with my great friend, Patty.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
And I'm also here with my great friend, not really, Jill. Well, she really is my great friend, but she's not really here. So Jill is Patty and my great friend who is not here with us on this podcast tonight because she is actually in Maine with her family the last night that they're here. And so they're going to take this evening and enjoy their last night in Maine on the beach, enjoying the ocean and the beautiful sunset. So our love to them. They'll be back. She'll be back with us next week. So we look forward to that. We came together on this podcast because we love to talk about all kinds of different things. Books, current events. What else do we like to talk about, Patty?
Ideas, novelties, relationships, social issues.
Yeah. And we like to talk about our husbands.
Yes, we do.
We like to talk about our families.
Yep.
We like to talk about our friends. Tonight we have the opportunity, because we knew Jill wasn't going to be here, to have a special guest in the studio with us today. We like to bring special guests in every once in a while, and this is an extra special guest.
Yes.
If you are following us with video, then you can already see who our special guest is, and some of you may know him very well. Others of you may not know him, but I'm sure that you'll enjoy experiencing him on the podcast today. So joining us on the podcast today is Scott Pullen, who also happens to be my husband, which I don't know what other qualification he would possibly need, Patty, besides that.
Right. Well, that just makes him the smartest man on earth.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly, Miss Patty. And he has a whole host of qualifications to that besides being the smartest man on earth,
right? Because
he happens to be my husband. So for those of you who don't know Scott or don't have any experience with him, he has years in the educational arena, both at the high school level and at the collegiate level. He has years and years in the business industry, in sales and in network marketing, in working with distributors and customer relations. And then he also has years and years of experience in the personal growth and leadership training as a facilitator, as a trainer, and as a personal coach. So, and I can tell you, I get coached some of the best coaching in the world. It doesn't mean I'm always receptive to some of the best coaching in the world.
Sometimes I'm like, can I just sit with my stuff right now and not have to try and be coached out of it?
Time out. Didn't ask for coaching.
Right.
So anyway, we're really, really, really excited to have Scott here with us today. So thank you, Scott, for choosing to share this time with us. We're really excited to have you here.
I just can't wait to listen and learn. So thank you for being here, Scott.
Well, thanks for including me.
Yeah.
I mean, for years, one of my favorite days of the month was always when you would come home and say, "Oh, I have dinner with the girls tonight."
Yeah.
And I never once begrudged that.
Never.
I always look forward to those opportunities for the girls to get together.
Yeah.
I know it's good for your energy, your sanity, and you just always come home in such a clean, beautiful space. And for so many years, I'd tell myself, I'd love to just be a fly on the wall.
Oh.
Just to hear how the interplay is between these three amazing women. And just being able to listen in and watch your podcasts the last 12 weeks or so.
Yeah, today's number
Has-
13.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's given me an opportunity to do that a little bit. And didn't expect to be invited to sit here between the two of you.
Wow.
But I thought maybe I should dye the ends of my hair blue and put on some glasses.
Right.
Yeah.
But I cut my hair yesterday, so there's
Yeah.
not enough hair
Oh, there we
to do
go.
it with. But thanks for allowing me into your space.
Oh, well, thank you. And for those of you who may be listening, I know how blessed I am to have someone in my life who is so supportive. I do have to say that he's always been supportive of my relationship, especially with all of my friends, but especially with Jill and Patty. And I know when I'm in need of time with Jill and Patty, because Scott will always say, when are you getting together with Jill and Patty?
Right.
Hint, hint, nudge, nudge, wink, wink, say no more,
Right.
say no more, you know, that kind of a thing. So anyway, we're so excited to have Scott here, and thank you, Scott, for graciously being here, and also for those gracious words. And we're also very excited about our topic today.
Oh, yeah.
So today we're going to be talking about kind and nice. And is there a distinction between the two? And if there is, what is that? And how do we go about then showing up in the world in a place that is nice and a place that is kind? And how does it serve us either way? So, Scott, is there a difference between kind and nice? And if there is, what is that difference?
Well, if you had asked me 2 years ago, is there a difference between kind and nice? My answer probably would have been no. No, nice people are kind and kind people are nice. And I remember one day watching a TV commercial that was done by Kind Bars. Interesting
Right.
name for that. And the question was asked in the commercial. They said, the statement was, oftentimes people believe that the word kind and nice are the same. They're synonymous. They mean the same thing. And then they come back and they say, actually, there's a big difference between kind and nice. And the distinction they gave, the example they gave was, nice people will tell you what you want to hear. Kind people will tell you what you need to hear. I know for years, a couple of years, teaching teen leadership conferences in the summer, one thing I used to share with teens is that sadly, most of them didn't really have true friends. They had a collection of people that they, cocooned themselves within that were friends
Yeah.
that would be nice to them, that would constantly tell them the things they thought they wanted to hear.
Right.
But I said, if you want to have true friends, find the kind of people that will tell you, be willing to take the risk. And the key word there is willing to.
Right.
Not that
Yeah.
they always will tell you what you need to hear, but that they're willing to take that risk and tell you those things.
Yeah.
Well, and Scott, you made a great point. I wonder, as you were doing the teen leadership conference and they're talking about their friends and that they're nice to, that seems like a surface relationship. And I think when you're willing to be kind or to take that risk, it's with a relationship that has a lot of trust, right? And I think with kids, the worry is acceptance, approval.
Yeah.
How am I viewed by others? And so I can imagine that a lot of those relationships tend to be more on the nice end of that. And so finding those relationships that have that trust or depth.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I have a lot of friends that I'm probably a nice friend to. It's a kind of more of a surface relationship, and it's easier to be nice and agree or whatever rather than get into it because it's not going to matter necessarily.
Mm-hmm.
But with my close friends that I have depth with, I think I feel more safe taking that risk.
Yeah. And is there anything wrong with nice?
I hope not.
Yeah.
I like to think that we live in a world that is nice. But there's a distinction. Not so long ago, like I remember, growing up, if someone said, oh, Scott likes Kim Michelle or Kim Michelle likes Scott, that was about as threatening as the word loves,
Sure.
right? Because we didn't make a distinction
Right.
between
Right.
those two
Yeah.
words.
Yeah.
But if you're a parent, you probably remember that day that maybe one of your kids said, you know what, I love you, but I really don't like you very much.
Or parents said that.
Or parents.
Yeah. I'll always love you. I don't always like you.
Yeah.
But
And in the moment with a scenario like that, you know, you might be caught thinking, gosh, I never really realized what the difference was between those two things. Like, I know one example is, I'm married to an amazing woman that loves to get her toenails painted. And for years, she would come home after getting her toenails painted, and I would say, oh, your toenails are just a beautiful red color. And the response was always, they're not red, they're coral.
Well, sometimes they were red, but sometimes they were coral, and, you know, I would expect you to know the difference.
Did you hear that? The
Right.
expectation
it's
was,
actually a brick red.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Mhm. Thank you very much.
and I wasn't aware of the difference, or I didn't care enough to be open to the possibility that there was a difference and to investigate it enough to appreciate that difference.
Right.
And I think for me, kind and nice were much that way.
Okay. Yeah. I can understand.
Right,
Yeah.
where like you said, probably 2 years ago, you realized that there is a difference, or 2 years you wouldn't have known that, and we haven't really taken the consideration to learn the difference.
So how would we define nice then?
Well, let me start with this. Clearly, there's a difference.
Okay.
And part of the evidence that there's a difference is in the distinct way that we use words. Like, for instance, you've probably had someone look at you and say, Kim Michelle, that's a nice dress. Nice dress you're wearing. Or, Patty, that's a really nice blouse that you're wearing. But you've probably never in your life ever had someone say, oh, that dress is so kind. Or that blouse is so kind.
Right.
Not yet.
So they can't be the same. There's got to be something
Right.
that distinguishes those two. You've probably thousands of times had someone say, have a nice day.
Right.
But
Or said it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or said it yourself.
Yeah,
Yeah.
of course.
But you've probably never had a scenario where someone said, have a kind day.
Have a kind day. No, I don't think I have said that or
Or
heard
heard
it.
that.
So in investigating that, at least these are some of the things I came up with. And, this again is my perception of it. And I don't have to be right about it. It's just my take on it. Nice is usually defined as things like something being pleasant or someone being agreeable, satisfactory, acceptable, especially around their behavior.
So an adjective.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we are raised, and we probably raised our children to be nice kids,
Yeah.
Right.
nice teenagers,
Right. Yeah.
and hopefully nice adults along the way. In their manners, their culture, all of those things, their experience in life.
Sure.
The social norms.
Yep,
Yeah.
social norms.
Yeah.
And, so nice becomes safe. It becomes the expectation in society. It's safe. It's relatively easy because we just pattern what we've been taught, the way we're supposed to show up. And it's what's expected of us by others. We're
Right.
expected to show up as nice.
And
Go ahead.
it's placating.
It is. It's going with the flow.
Right.
Yeah.
Right? It's not making waves. It's not rocking the boat. The challenge to nice is it's motivated by what other people think of us. So we're about to make a choice and we go, gosh, what will that person think? Or what will people think of us? Anytime it has that motivation, it's driven by nice. And it's not always authentic. It's what's conditioned in us,
Right.
but it's not what we would do or say or how we would behave if we really were making a choice by maybe what our heart was telling us versus what we're being led by our heads to do out of
Okay.
fear instead of love.
Okay, so for my own clarification then, so if I act in a way that is considered nice by societal standards or norms, so if I open a door for someone, for example, I'm being polite or gracious in doing so. If I do that and I'm genuine in doing that, right? I'm I'm just doing it because I'm wanting to be polite, then I'm being nice for nice sake. If I'm doing it because I'm want to be seen a certain way, then that would be nice because I have a desire to be seen a certain way.
So it's kind of like what motivates your behavior. But I would say if you were opening the door for someone because you wanted to open the door for them because you're being gracious, I would say that is a kind act. But if you were opening the door for someone because you wanted someone to view you as a certain way, then that would be nice. So I think your first example to me would be an example of kindness, and you're motivated by the opinions of others would be nice. But we also know that it's okay to be nice.
Yeah.
Because that's what helps us get along with people.
You know, an example that I used earlier today was if I'm flying on a plane, I pray that everyone on that plane will be nice. Mm-hmm. You know, they'll follow the socially accepted norms.
Yeah,
they'll
absolutely.
board the plane when they're supposed to board. They'll follow the regulations and guidelines while they're on that flight. They'll treat each other in a way that's respectful. But I also pray that if someone were to step up and not be so nice, like one example is bullying. Mm-hmm. Nice people won't bully other people.
Right.
Right.
But if somebody on a flight happens to bully a flight attendant or another passenger on the plane, I would pray someone, if not me,
Right.
that someone would step forward and take a step beyond that which is socially acceptable or the norm, and actually do something to shut that bullying down.
Which would be an act of kindness.
That would be an act of kindness.
Okay,
Not
so
nice.
what is kindness then? So
So
I have to step in here, and we talked about this earlier, but if nice is an adjective, then we can view kind as a possible verb.
now, any English teacher knows the word kind can fill several different roles.
Sure.
Exactly.
Sure.
But I think in order to make a distinction
action.
between the two, it's easiest to think of nice as an adjective.
yeah.
A nice woman, a nice boy,
descriptor.
a nice
Yep.
a descriptor. And if you'll think of kind as a verb, kindness requires an action or a step being taken beyond the norm, beyond the expectation. And my personal belief is that kindness is necessary for every healthy relationship in life.
For sure.
Yes.
No, it's going beyond. A test that I came up with this morning was, imagine all the times in your life that you did something, you took a step and someone said, oh, you really didn't have to do that. In other words, it was beyond what was expected. It was beyond the have to. And it was because you chose to do something.
Right. In an altruistic manner,
Yep.
not because of how you want people to view you.
Right.
Now, that can happen too. Like, I'm going to do this nice thing because I want people in my neighborhood to know I'm a nice person, rather than I'm going to do this nice thing because, or this kind thing, or this behavior. I'm going to take dinner or whatever because I don't want to say what I should do, but it's the right thing to do. And it also would serve me because I know if I'm serving others, I actually get fed too, you know, my soul or my,
Right.
you know, I feel good about it, but I don't know.
Well,
But is it okay for you to get something in return when you act in a space of kindness? Because you're not doing it to get that in return. That's just when if I see myself as part of a shared human experience, and from that place, I step into service to someone else and I serve them. And as a result of that service, I feel filled up as well because I have served in my humanness.
Sure.
Then that's got to be great, right? That's what we're hoping for here, right?
I don't think it's a question of right or wrong.
Right.
I don't
okay.
think one is right and the other one is less right or even wrong. I think it's a question of effectiveness. You know, which of the two in a choice on how to show up, is it more powerful to be focused on what other people might think of you than what you choose to do for others.
Right.
Right? It's
Well, and I also, we talked about kindness being a way to be honest to those, what they need to hear, which is the outward focus. I'm going to say this to you because it would serve them to hear it. Now, that doesn't also mean that you need to be brutally honest because you want to be. So, but if I have a friend who's like, I just got this outfit, what do you think? And if I say, oh, it's not flattering, I think it's too big, you probably need a smaller shirt, or maybe you need a bigger this, or the waistline doesn't look great, or whatever it is. If I can be honest about whatever they bought, then I feel like I'm doing them a service and I'm kind about it.
Yes.
Or I could go, it looks great. And
Which might be nice.
that's nice, but that's not really honest. But how can we show up honest in a nice way? How do we do that? How do we make sure that we are supporting that other person by being kind, supportive, and loving, and come from a space of caring,
yeah,
so that they know that?
I think you hit on something that's really important, and that is that nice and kind are not mutually exclusive.
Okay, I like that.
You can be a kind person who's also nice. And you can be a nice person that's also kind. The problem is you can appear as a kind person, appear as a nice person, but not really be kind at all.
Right.
So it can be a choice, but it's not necessary for it to be a choice. And I would like to think nobody listening into this broadcast today would now use this as their convenient excuse to be a jerk,
Right.
to be a fool, to be an a-hole, as
Sure.
some people may call it, and just say, I'm done being nice to people. I'm going to speak my truth. Well, your truth isn't necessarily the truth. It's simply your experience of someone else.
100%.
Yeah.
And I
sure.
think the kind step there would be to step back for a moment, come from a place of empathy and compassion and understanding to a point where you take the time to ask someone, are you open to me sharing my experience around something with you? And if you're open, I'll share it. And I'll tell you right off the top,
Yeah.
it'll probably be risky for me to share that. And I love you enough to take that risk.
Right.
I love that too, because one of the things I think about being kind is that it is risky, because you are putting yourself in a vulnerable place to speak the truth as you see it, as you know it, to somebody else. And that can be scary. You get to step through your fear to do that. So to ask permission, or to see if it's okay, if someone's open to hearing that, even if they say, no, I really am not, I don't want to hear that, that's A-okay. You've done what you can to be of service to them, but you still grow you in the process, because you stepped through your fear to offer it. Whether they're willing to receive that or not, that isn't yours to determine for them. It still grows you in your space. And I love that about choosing into kind, to speak in a compassionate and loving way, the truth as you see it to someone else, sometimes the hard words, and then giving them the choice of whether they're going to hear it or not. In fact, a lot of it comes down to choice.
For sure. I was just thinking, as a language arts teacher, when I am grading papers, it is very important for me to be honest about their writing, or they won't learn. So if I'm not willing to give them the truth about what they need to do to improve, then I'm not being kind. Yeah, that is not
so
a good
powerful.
space for me to be if I can't be honest about what they need to do to grow and learn. And on just quick, wanted to refer back to one of our listeners. I like this. It said, it's absolutely okay to expect to get that good feeling from serving. I tell people that serving is a sure cure for depression. So if you're being kind selfishly, that's okay. Go ahead and still serve others.
Yeah.
I like that. And there is this thing called reciprocal altruism.
Mm-hmm.
So when we reciprocate those service for an altruistic reason or something outside ourselves, it begets more altruistic behavior. And so hopefully the more kind we are, the more kind others are. So in theory, that would be great.
Well, and in actuality, we're modeling that too for the person that is on the other end of that. I mean, they may have never had someone actually approach them in a place of honesty and compassion at the same time, to step up and have an honest, open, responsible conversation with them and speak to them from that place. And as scary as that may be, if they've seen that happen and they were the one to receive that, and they can be appreciative that someone could care enough about them to do that, then it may give them the courage to do the same.
Absolutely.
And, I think that's really a powerful example to set with people.
Well, here's a different perspective around that. What if it's not possible to be kind and selfish at the same time? What if there is nothing selfish about kindness? And here's what I mean by that. If you think about being nice, the motivation for being nice by itself is selfish. It's doing something, focusing on what others might think of you.
It can be.
Typically, commonly.
It can be,
Commonly.
yeah.
On the other hand, when you're coming from a place of kindness, yes, it's still about you and that feeling that you get in doing something kind for someone else, but it's also coming from a place of you taking a moment to step in their shoes. Coming from a place of understanding that they're a human being that's in a place of desperation.
Right.
A great test of kindness is how you show up with people when they're in a desperate state. Well, I don't know about you, but I don't know that I've ever met a human being that at some point in their life or some area in their life wasn't desperate. So it's treating everyone with that same graciousness, understanding, and compassion, which is not selfish at all.
Right. Especially if, I like how you pointed out, if you are stepping into their shoes to serve or help or offer honest information or whatever. Feedback for sure. If you're stepping into their shoes to do that, their motive is to help that person. And so you might get a good feeling about it, but your motive for doing it wasn't out of being selfish.
And
so
I think
like that.
I really think that is the key distinction, is what is the motive. And I think the motive is what helps us also discern whether it is an act of kindness or whether it is nice. If the motive is to serve you, if it is inward only, so if the motive for doing it is only to serve you, to make you look better or to make you more comfortable, then it's probably nice, and it's not nice in the good sense. It's not just being courteous.
So
it's
socially
not just
courteous
being polite.
or following social norms.
Exactly. It's nice in the way that we mean it. It's not of service to anybody, really. If the motive is to be of service or is to see yourself in somebody else's shoes, then that is outward focused, and it is to serve and to be of service. And if you gain from that too, that's okay, because like you said, Patty, the motive, the intention, the purpose for which you're doing it is outward focused.
Right. 100%. I was going to say, we've talked a little bit about the benefits of being kind, that maybe we learn some empathy towards others. Some other benefits of being kind is that we get the good feeling of, we helped this person out, and we get a little feel good. And even though that wasn't our motive, another benefit is that reciprocal kindness. But in a way, there are so many benefits of being nice. Not necessarily benefits that are awesome, like being kind.
But payoffs. There are payoffs. Yeah.
So sometimes it's better. Sometimes we're like, I'm just going to play
payoffs
nice
for
here
sure.
because I don't want to have the disagreement, or I don't want to.
I want to avoid conflict.
I want to avoid conflict.
It's more comfortable.
It's more comfortable for me to play nice.
Play nice. There are definitely payoffs. Yeah.
And so they're, like you said, they're not exclusive.
Nope.
There are definitely times that nice works, and definitely times where we could choose to be more kind.
Yeah.
Well, and I think you're totally right there. I mean, this is interesting. Yesterday, when I was doing a little bit of research into nice and kind, I took the time to do an online survey, and maybe they'll post it in the chat or something on the podcast. But there was an online survey around how kind are you? Now, I like to think of myself as a kind person. I think most people like to think of themselves as a kind person. For example, if you got 100 people together and you said, are you a better than average driver? I'm going to suggest that probably 100 out of 100 people would say, oh yes, I'm a better than average driver.
Right.
When mathematically speaking, only 49 of them are better than average.
Right.
And I think oftentimes the same can be true about kindness, is we like to think of ourselves as kind. So I took the survey and got the results of the survey back. And I've spent a lot of years working on personal development and training. And it would be so nice to think that as a result of that, I've arrived somewhere in the world of niceness.
Or kindness.
Of kindness. Yes, of kindness. I know I spent a lot of years in the world of niceness, where at work I was just seen as the nice guy. Kind,
Placating,
friendly,
pleasing.
with everyone. Never rocked the boat.
No.
But then I'd get home and I could be an absolute beast. Because I had all this, I worked so hard to appear
Well, it
nice.
takes a lot of energy.
It does.
It's exhausting. So then I would show up at home with people that loved me, and I knew they loved me and would accept me and would forgive me. And it's like the armor would come off and then the beast would appear. Well, when I did the survey came back and basically said, you're not nearly as nice, kind. You're not nearly as kind as you think you are. For example, you show up with an expectation of kindness requiring sacrifice. In other words, you have to give up something in order to show up as kind in the world. That was a great opportunity for me because now I got to confront myself, right? Got some feedback from the internet. And one of the ways I looked at that is I don't think kind is a state that you arrive in. I think for a lot of us, we work so hard to show up as nice, believing that niceness is the path to satisfaction and fulfillment and joy in the world. Well, I hate to break it to you, but if that were true, we would have most of us would have already arrived. We'd be happy, joyful, satisfied all the time.
Yeah.
So achieving true joy and satisfaction's got to require something beyond just showing up as the nice person. And at least for me, part of the path to that is not to arrive at a state of kindness, but to make it a commitment every day to show up as a kinder person. And the first step towards that is awareness. If I have no clue how I'm showing up, if I don't have someone or something in life giving me that gentle nudge, then things tend to never change.
So can you explain a little bit more about, because I think you took the test as well
Yes.
and also had the sacrifice part.
Yes.
So does that mean I'm only being kind if I'm sacrificing something?
No.
What does that mean for you guys?
When I read the analysis, it said that really it's saying that part of what I get to work on is that kindness, there's kindness for me, but I also believe that kindness requires sacrifice on my part because I don't set any boundaries when it comes to kindness. I don't set any boundaries for serving other people. I will jump into the service pool for other people, but I don't necessarily, I'm not as kind to myself in the practice of kindness as I might be in service to other people. And that is part of the kindness theory, is that you would be kind to yourself as well as kind to other people.
And see, I think from a teaching perspective, I'm nice. You know, kids feel fine to come talk to me, or if they need an extension. And what I find myself doing is not setting boundaries to be seen as nice. So I get caught up in staying later or accepting something late or meeting someone at a different time than I had originally, you know, I might set an original boundary, but then I don't keep to my boundaries so that I'm viewed as a nicer person. So
that's great self-awareness. That's really powerful. Yeah.
Between the three of us in our lifetime, how many times do you think we've ever worked really hard all day, sat down to appreciate a really nice dinner with our families, and the very moment we sat down to enjoy that dinner, our phone rings?
Yeah.
Well, how do we handle that? So often what I will do is I'll say, oh, I can always reheat the dinner. This person needs me. Right. So then I'll forego the nice warm dinner and time with my family to be on a call with someone that probably didn't really need me that much, at least didn't need me in that moment.
Right. It may not have been such an emergency.
Exactly.
But why do we do it?
Because I felt needed.
Yeah.
Right. So we'll create value for ourselves out of other people needing us.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. And your call I think it was a couple of weeks ago, you did an amazing podcast around saying yes versus saying no.
Saying yes when it would serve you to say no. Yeah.
And I think how that's relevant here is oftentimes people won't want to show up as kind out of fear that if they do, people will take advantage of them. Right? Because now they're soft and fluffy and, you know, everybody's going to step on them, when the reality is probably just the opposite of that. Kind people tend to have enough self-worth and value and confidence that they'll create boundaries. And people that are, you know, respected the most are the people that model respect and treat other people with respect. So oftentimes I would suggest the kindest thing you can do for yourself, others, and the world is set those boundaries and be willing to say no.
Right.
Yeah.
Versus people that are driven by the need. And I want to be careful about distinguishing this class of people are nice and this class of people are kind. But if I'm in that place where what's driving me is the need to appear nice to someone else, I will probably rarely, if ever, say no.
Right.
Out of fear that that's going to create disagreement
Uh-huh.
and upset and frustration. And now watch this.
I've let someone down.
I let someone down. I'm disappointed. I'm angry. I'm frustrated. I'm resentful. And then the next step becomes I'm angry.
Right.
So then I show up as angry. Now imagine what that does. Now it takes that whole niceness thing and just flushes
totally,
it.
Yeah.
So, you know, it can be, like we said, a real burden to try to show up that way versus taking the more kind and authentic step in life.
Right. And I think you're 100% right. If we are feeling obligated to be nice, it will cause some resentment.
Yeah.
Rather than, and I liked what you said from our podcast last time. Yes. And I think is what you said. Yes. And here's how I can do that. So,
or here's what it would require of me on my end.
Yeah.
Right.
And this is a really extreme example, but I think it drives it home, is how many times have you watched a news report about a horrific crime that's been committed by someone, and they're interviewing the neighbors, and the neighbors say, oh, no, he would never do that. He's the nicest person that I ever met.
Right.
But when you have all that pent up frustration about, well, I do nice things for people, but I hold the door for someone, but they never tell me thank you.
Right. Oh, and I don't think you should ever do anything nice or kind
With an expectation.
with an expectation of
Bingo.
someone else.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I also, when I see people who are nice and friendly and happy and never down them all up, I don't know. I don't even know how to relate. Are you even a real person? I don't.
That's when we call each other.
Yeah, I'm like, okay, where's some real stuff here? Like, are you real?
Yeah, and
But-
I would just add to what you said about classifying people. I don't think we need to. I think the purpose of this conversation is to understand that every one of us probably shows up as both of these.
Sure, we
It's
have
just
to.
a conversation for us to be in reflection around what am I choosing and why am I choosing it, and is my choice moving me towards what I say it is that I want in my life, so that I can have awareness around it and then choose differently if it's not getting me where it is I say I want to be, or how I want to show up, or if it's not garnering the feelings I want to have in my life and the relationships I want, etc. So,
Well, and I think the timing of it is really critical. If you spend any time at all on social media, I don't know that the world we live in has ever been in greater need of kindness. Of people that take the time to appreciate, understand, leave judgment, behind the door,
Right.
and come from a place of respect for other people versus having to be right and coming from a place of condemnation and
Right.
attack.
Well, and I like what you said earlier is to how did you say it? Kind show up when others are in despair, and or true kindness shows up, or we show up as. And I was thinking about that too earlier when we were talking prior to the podcast. We talked about how some people, we've all been in despair, like you said. However, when someone's in despair, oftentimes we're judging why are they in this disparative situation. And it's not ours to know why. It's not ours to ask why. Ours is only to be kind in a humane to support humanity.
right.
So it doesn't matter if do not put do they deserve my kindness.
Exactly.
That's not it.
Right. That's not ours to
That's
decide.
not ours to decide.
Really, if you're truly coming from a place of kindness, then how they dug themselves into the hole isn't a reason for why we would reach out
Right.
our hand and pull them out of the hole.
Right.
That isn't
Right. They may
Right.
have dug that hole.
exactly.
They may have fallen into that hole.
Right, exactly.
Their parents may have started
Pushed them in
digging
the
that
hole.
hole. There's a million reasons
Exactly.
people get in a hole.
Exactly.
And it's only ours to help.
Absolutely.
And that is a true act of kindness. And,
Yes.
And I think that would be our gentle nudge we talked about
Yeah.
is to show up each day just a little bit kinder.
Yeah, I think across the board, that would be our gentle nudge to all of you is to show up a little bit kinder.
And myself.
Yeah.
I was just going to, I know we're running out on time, but I was wondering, Scott, what do you think about this? Do you think that nice is a cultural, social construct of certain behaviors that help society get along? Do you think that we've learned to be like nice? Like we take turns, like everything I needed to learn, I learned in kindergarten. Take your turn, share your pencil, whatever, that book.
Yes.
Yeah. And I think those are all behaviors that are nice, that help people get along in their circles,
Yeah.
but that aren't always the honest, kind, I don't know.
And I think where you really nailed it was with the word in their circles. Kindness, I believe, is universal.
Sure. I 100%
Right? Caring,
believe that.
compassion. Niceness absolutely is cultural. And if you don't believe that, travel to a foreign country.
Yeah. The social norms of the nicest social norms are a
The
lot
rules
different.
of niceness
Yes.
would be very different.
Yeah.
Border to border, community to community,
Sure.
neighborhood to neighborhood.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think there are some truths in that, right? If share your pencil, speak nicely.
Don't
right?
yell, don't run,
Don't
take your
push
turn.
and shove, you know. I think there's some truth to that. And I think when they're initially taught, they're taught so that we can all get along. And from that space, I think it is beyond just nice because it's for the greater good of all of us. I think it's then when it becomes something that it's not.
Right.
Now, when it becomes, well, if I don't share my pencil, then how will other people see me? So now I'm going to share only because I'm concerned about how other people will see me.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
I think
So-
nice is like a base coat of paint,
I like that.
right? It helps cover what's there. But the true color and, you know,
I love
and
that.
beauty in life comes to what we add on top of that base coat.
Will
and
you
that's
please
kindness.
write that quote down and get that posted, Scott?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Scott.
I'm going to write that. I love that. In fact, I'm going to make that a bulletin board.
The other, you know, you see a lot of T-shirts about if you can be anything, choose to be kind. You know, and just a lot that are just be kind.
For sure.
I want to print up a T-shirt that says, "Be nice, do kind."
I like that.
Yeah, because kind is a verb.
Is the
what
action.
we're going to say,
Yeah.
right? It's
The
action.
altruistic action
Yeah.
to pull people out of
Yep.
the hole.
Yep. So thank you so much, Scott,
you,
for
Scott.
joining us
Oh, it's
today.
an honor.
What an enjoyable
how
conversation.
fun has this been? And it's just flown
I-
by. So
Yeah, it has. And I feel
Yeah.
so lucky to have been a part of this conversation.
yeah,
So thank you.
so much.
Well, I'm no Jill Burkett.
Well,
no,
no.
that's a given. None of us are.
No.
One-
If you
one
want to
of the-
talk about a kind,
Yes, I was just going to say that.
considerate person,
Yeah.
she leaves no one behind.
Yeah.
She thinks of things that people need before they know they need it.
And we were talking, and I just have to throw this in there because when we came back to St. George, I was just like a week out of having my double mastectomy, and we were coming back from our move from California. So we were moving, and it was craziness. And we got in really, really late into our home, and Jill and Patty had already been there, and they'd gone through the whole house, and they had left the things that you always forget about. They'd left toilet paper in every bathroom. They had that's kind.
Well,
that is kind.
I didn't want to do it. It was Jill's forced me.
I know.
was like,
She's like that.
they don't need toilet paper. They have paper bags, right?
Right.
I wasn't willing to do it, but no.
And the key is
100%.
you didn't have to do it.
No.
It wasn't an
No.
obligation.
And we were just grateful that you were moving home. So excited to have you here. We wanted to make sure that you wanted to stay.
It was, to this day, it just brings me to tears because it was just such a beautiful act of love and kindness. And so,
Yep.
anyway,
we
our gentle nudge, go out and be kind.
and
our sign off for today, as we don't forget our book,
oh yeah.
be reading The Book Woman of Troublesome Creek. And our sign off for today is
Have a
have a
kind
kind
day.
day.
Have a kind day.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you. Scott, thank you so much.
Yeah, so
Welcome.
great.
That was so great. And
Thanks for listening to It's a Great Day to Talk.
be sure to follow and subscribe to us on your favorite podcast platform.
And until next week,
Get out there and talk.
This has been a production from a podcast studio.